on the phone right now. Very lucky to have Martin from Swedish band At the Gates. Martin, thanks for joining me tonight.
Thank you. Thanks for calling.
Oh, no problem at all. Now, you joined the band just after the second album. Now, if I could sort of just touch on that briefly, how did it come to be that you joined the band?
I was pen pals with Jonas, the bass player. We actually met in my hometown when my old band, House of Usher, and At the Gates, we were both supporting Bolt Tour back in '91. So we started writing after that, and a couple of years later, when Alf quit, I was one of the guys that they thought of for a replacement. So I went down to try out. I figured out a couple of songs and went down and rehearsed, and that's it.
Yeah, okay. What was the time like back then in, that era in Sweden? I mean, you look up anything about the Gothenburg sound, and At the Gates are always mentioned. How does that sit with the band?
I don't know really. When you're right in the middle of doing it, it's Well, actually, this whole Gothenburg sound thing, no one talked about that when we were actually playing. That happened after we split up.
But looking back, what I'm getting at is looking back, being associated with the birth of that whole movement. How does that sit with the band? Do you try and avoid that? Is it an honour to be associated with that?
No, it's flattering, but we don't really think about it.
Okay.
It's yeah.
What was the scene like the local metal scene in Gothenburg back in the time?
Well, I wasn't in the band at the beginning,
no.
So I don't know about the early days in Gothenburg really. But I think Thomas was a major player, obviously, with Grotesque first. When they played, there weren't very many bands around at all in Gothenburg. There were some bands in Stockholm and different parts of the country.
Mm-hmm.
But then after Grotesque, I guess it just exploded in Gothenburg.
Yeah. Okay. Now, am I right? The first album you were performing on was Terminal, Spirit Disease. Hailed as a breakthrough album. What do you recall of that album in the time?
I don't know. It's a very long time ago.
Okay.
Me personally, I was commuting back in the day. I was still living in my hometown, which is about 4 hours away from Gothenburg. So it's all very vague. I was spending times. I was sleeping on people's couches in their living rooms, rehearsing for about a week at a time, and then. But yeah, it's hard to. It's one of those questions I'd have to think for a good while before I can come up with something interesting. Sorry.
Now, Slaughter of the Soul in '95 led to a big US tour and all of that, and then the brothers left. Was that a sudden thing, or did you see that coming?
No, to me it was very sudden. I didn't expect that at all. I don't know if the other guys suspected something, but I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
But I think it was down to exhaustion a lot. We did play a lot after Slaughter of the Soul. So maybe it was a rash decision. I don't know.
Okay. Now, in the intervening years between that time and reuniting, '96 to say 2007, what were you doing in the intervening years?
I did a little bit of this and that. Firstly, I studied for a couple of years. Then I was a postman for 8 years. But I did play for the whole At the Gates hiatus, just not on the same level as the other guys.
Yeah, okay.
More on a hobby level. It was more like a social thing.
Now, when the band reunited in 2007 for what it seems like from this side of the world anyway, a long run of festival shows in Europe, and then a Japanese tour, US, Canada. How was that period? How did that whole reunion thing come about?
Well, we talked about it on and off for several years before it happened. But I guess the stars were aligned then. It was just a good timing. Haunted weren't doing a lot, and Dysphere and all the other bands. It was just a good. It was a gap in all the different schedules, so we could do it.
Mm. And again in 2010, was it the same sort of thing that happened? It all sort of like the planets aligned, and you just came together and did it again?
Yeah, we realized that one summer was far from enough to have time to do all we wanted, all the shows we wanted. Australia, for instance, we didn't have time for that in '08. So I think we all left that summer feeling a little bit. I mean, in one way, really happy, and but at the same time unfulfilled and frustrated that we could only do so much. So a couple of years later, the offers just kept coming in, and we decided to go on and do more.
Okay. Now, you've performed pretty steadily since. Are we doing full tours or going out on your own?
Yeah, well, mostly since the first years of the reunion, we mostly did festival summers.
Yeah.
With the odd tour, like the Australian tour, and a South American tour as well, a couple of years back. And now, since we don't want to. We don't want to take the joy out of it. If you have it as a proper job or whatever, it's there's always the danger of taking the joy out of it. So Thomas and Jonas especially, they still have their day jobs in the weeks. So we mostly play weekends now.
Now, you obviously had people bugging you to record again, which was initially, the idea of that initially was shot down. But last year we've got a new album. How did that come about? Were you getting hassled that much, or was it just a thing that you just accumulated these songs?
I think it just came gradually. Yeah. Since we kept on playing year after year. The urge to present new material just grew, I'd say. And then eventually it became overwhelming, and we just had to do it. When we said back in '08 that we wouldn't record new music, we were honest with that. We believed that. But then, times change and you change.
Yeah. Now, am I right in saying that you were awarded a Swedish Grammy for Best Hard Rock Metal Album for 2014?
Yeah.
That must have been a huge honor.
Yeah. It's like a. Oh man, my English is failing, but it's it shows that you're doing something right. But then again, it's just a I don't know, it's a business thing. It's not the fans that vote or anything.
Nice to be recognized, though.
Good. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. It's nice to be recognized.
Now, I've noticed on your website that you've been touring far and wide since the latest album, At War with Reality, was released. And you'll be up around 80 shows since the album by the time you land in Australia. Now, you must be looking forward to that. And what can Australian crowds expect from At the Gates?
Just a good, solid metal show, I'd say. We're doing about a third off of the new album, so it's going to be a good mixture of new and old. And obviously an excited band to play in Australia. It's only my second time personally, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Right. Excellent. We can't wait. Where to after Australia? What have you got lined up after Australia?
Well, the first weekend after a festival in Leeds, Damnation, and a couple of festivals in Germany, and in December we're supporting Slayer in Helsinki. That's going to be good.
Will there be another At the Gates album?
I don't know. You tell me. No, we're not gonna.
Nothing planned, but whatever happens.
We have no plans of quitting. That's all I can say.
Yep.
We'll have to figure out once we slow down touring.
Yeah.
Hopefully we have some new music, but we're not going to push it.
No.
But we'll see.
Excellent. Martin, great talking to you, and can't wait to see you in our fair city this coming week.
Yeah. Thanks for calling. Thanks for the support. And we're hopefully it will show that we're really excited to go play Australia once again.
No worries. We'll see you next week, Martin. Thanks for the time.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye bye.